Hi everybody. You ever just have one of those days, one of those weeks, one of those months? Is 2018 already one of those years for you? If so, you made the perfect choice in watching this video. If you don't already know, I'm Joshua Howard from 180 Hypnotherapy in Denver, Colorado. I am currently having one of those weeks. I've had such a frustrating week. I've already tried the normal things that I try to do to get over these things. I've called friends. I've worked on just kind of like hanging out and calming myself down with my normal calming routines. I worked on, just taking some deep breaths and relaxing. And at this point, I'm still finding myself really frustrated. So I'm going to start working through a little bit of a hypnotic routine that I do to progressively calm myself down. And so I wanted to take a minute today to just share this routine with you and to share some of the more beneficial pieces of it. And so the first thing I want to have you think about before I start sharing this is think about what it's like when you get past a moment like this. Like if you think back into your past, there's been probably a lot of those days. And if your life has been like mine, a lot of those weeks. And so, as you think back across your life, you'll recognize there were times that were like that. And then there were other times that were a little bit nicer. Or maybe at least that didn't suck, depending on where you're at in life. So we could say there's didn't suck and one of those. And so if you can think about that, you can realize that there have been moments where you've overcome at least some of the issues. And you've been able to look back and either laugh or recognize you grew, or at least say like, at least I'm not there anymore. Holy God, And so, everybody's story is a little bit different, but if you can think to yourself about it, what happens with time is that there are these moments and then you transcend them. And then you can look back on them and you feel differently about them than you did while you were there. And so essentially what I and a lot of other hypnotists like to do is to kind of speed up that process. And so most of the hypnotic things that we'll be doing today will either be working on just kind of flushing those feelings or on actively helping your mind to grow to the place where it's looking back on those events. And when you really start to think about what I said there, at first some people can say like, oh, it's crazy, or it's a bunch of theory, like whatever. But just follow with me here and go through practically what I'm talking about. And watch as I shift and watch and notice yourself as you're shifting. Just do the processes as honestly and authentically as you can. Because honestly, you don't have to tell me any of the content because, I'm in a video. So, anyway, the first thing that I want us to just work on here is to take in some nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Just to get the energy flowing here. So, breathe in and out. And in. And out. Alright, great. So if you're like me, that probably had just the tiniest little bit of effect. Perfect. So what I want you to do now is to just take in another nice, long, slow, deep breath, but this time do it for a count of 4. 2, 4. Okay? And then as you breathe out 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so just work on that process, and if you can, extend it to 8 or even 10. 6 I find is pretty easy for most people. 8 and 10 gets a little bit more difficult. So let's just go ahead and sit here and do this for just a little bit of time. So breathe in for 4 and out for 6, even 8 if you can. All right. So at this point, I'm noticing a little bit of an effect. It's making me a little bit calmer, making me a little bit lightheaded because I was pushing a little bit hard for the video. Makes me kind of feel like I'm at the allergist again, doing that ridiculous spectrometer or spectrograph or whatever that machine is called. I sound like a total fool right now, but you know what I mean. If you have allergies, that one that you have to blow in for an extremely long period of time. But that exercise there, I think, is really great. Not at, taking you from here all the way down to like a 0 level, but taking you from here, maybe down to here or down to here. Something a little bit more manageable. And better is an improvement, right? I mean, at least for me it is. So I find that to be really helpful. Breathe in for 4, out for 6, maybe 8 if you can, 10 if you're really pushing it. Do that a couple times and just feel the relaxation as you're doing it. Keep in mind that your unconscious processes and the way that your body is responding, it's responding that way to phenomena in the environment and to your thoughts. And it's responding that way because it wants to live up to your thoughts and to help keep you, safe and to get the goals that you want and stuff like that. And so if you actively start telling that process, everything is calm now, everything is okay, we can work on pulling it down a little bit. The processes eventually will start to follow you. For some people, they'll find a lot of resistance to that. And if that's where you're at, then you just got to kind of keep working it. And if you find that you don't have a lot of resistance to that, well, then you found something that works for you. Great. The level of hypnosis and meditation kind of stuff I'm at, I can, not always, but for the most part, relax myself at least a little bit at a will. And, these kind of breathing exercises will help you out. So, great. There are a lot of other breathing exercises you can check out if you're interested. I have a few videos on my channel about them, so I'm not really going to waste more time on that. So now what I want to do is to get you more into the types of response things that are going to start to push the feeling away. So I want you to think to yourself, if you have any residual set of the feeling left in your body, like for instance, for me, when I first started making this video, this is actually my second attempt at it. So when I first made the first video, I was feeling it right here. It was really intense and it was kind of pounding out. But now as I've gone through, I'm starting to compress the feeling a little bit and I'm only really feeling it about right here. So I just feel a little bit of my normal areas where I feel stress and anxiety and frustration in my body in general. So hopefully that wasn't confusing for you, but if it was, just take a moment and pay attention to where in your body that you're feeling the feelings of frustration or like or whatever, the feeling of being in this kind of week. And just notice where you feel it in your body. Like I said, for me, it centers about right here. I find for a lot of people that seems to be very similar. Feeling of your feelings are centered in this sort of area. I think it has something to do with, like wanting to punch things or attack, or push things away or kind of respond or run, like basic fight or flight kind of responses. But, who knows? At this point, a lot of this stuff is kind of beyond the reaches of our knowledge. But anyway, pay attention to where that feeling is. Like I said, for me, it was here. Now it's about here after the breathing exercise. Maybe if you can, and you're noticing all this stuff, notice how it shrunk or if it has. And that's a really good litmus test to see how fast this stuff is working, what progression is doing, which of these things is really helpful for you. But anyway, once you have that feeling and you notice where it's at, I want you to just take the feeling, and you don't actually have to do this with your hands, but just push the feeling out in front of you, maybe about here. So I'm going to take mine and just push it out there, like I said, about here. So I'm imagining that feeling is right there between my hands. Okay? And now what I want you to do is just imagine that you're able to grab it here and flip it around so that now the opposite side of the feeling is facing you in that area. And then go ahead and just pull it back into your body. And let it sit in your body. And I find that's another process that's really helpful for a good portion of people. For some people, they have a little bit of trouble with it. But if you're able to notice where those feelings are and push them out like that, that's really great. It works really well for me. I feel a lot more calm. In fact, I'm starting to feel a lot of the muscles in the area where I was holding tension from this frustration starting to diminish, and that's pretty beautiful. Perfect. So the last thing I want you to really talk to you about here today is a process that is known in neurolinguistic programming, which is a type of hypnosis I do, as the phasphobia process. Now, it's not necessarily always for phobias. I mean, you can use it for phobias and it works pretty well for them. I find generally you have to do a little bit more, but it definitely diminishes phobias very fast, because what it's trying to do is the thing I was talking about at the very beginning of this video. Remember when I mentioned to you, you have those weeks, and then you get to a time in the future where you can look back on it and you can think to yourself, wow, that was just kind of silly, or like, man, I overreacted, or like, God, I'm so glad that I'm not like with that person, or like in that relationship, or in that job, or like, I'm so glad I don't live there anymore. Whatever the issue is. When you get to a moment after that, you can often look back and have an experience of having an emotion that's different than the one that was there before. So obviously when you're trying to program it or use hypnosis or something of that nature, you're going to try to choose the best possible outcome. So with the process that we're going to do here, what we're going to shoot to do is to make it so that you can look back on it and laugh. If you get that, great. But at least as long as you can look back on it and not feel like total crap, I see that as a success, especially considering the fact that this is a hypnotic process that you're learning like through video. Or like thinking. I wonder if anyone can just hear it. Anyway. So this process is really simple. All you need to do is just go ahead and close your eyes, and if you're a very visual person, allow yourself to visualize that you're back in that moment that frustrated you. Actually, I guess I should say before this, choose something from the course of this kind of week, or this kind of day, or whatever. Choose something from it that was like a very clear event that pushed up and amped up your emotional feelings of badness. Like, for instance, in my case, I've been having some maintenance issues with my apartment complex, and they're getting more intense, and, it's causing issues with other tenants, and it's very frustrating to me, because really what I wanted to do today was to catch up on some stuff for my other business and to make a really cool video that wasn't actually about this at all. It was about something entirely different. But I felt like such crap I couldn't make my video because of all of this other stuff that was going on. And so the instance for me is a very clear thing that happened this morning involving other people. And so I want you to just let yourself think about a moment from this kind of bad day, this kind of bad experience, whatever's been bugging you recently. Just think about an experience that you had in your life that pushed up that emotion. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what it is, because you don't have to tell me as I'm inside of this computer screen. But it is important for you to just know what it is. And once you have that kind of memory in mind that's frustrating you, if you're actually having one of these bad days or bad weeks, there's probably several of these, and they're probably on like a loop in your mind. If you're anything like me, they're just looping. So, hopefully this isn't that difficult for you to find one. And anyway, so here's the process. What we want to do is just close our eyes and just let ourselves either vividly visualize it if you're capable of doing that, or let ourselves just imagine that we're having the experience again in whatever process works for us. I'm a very kinesthetic person, so for me, I have a hard time seeing things, but I have a really easy time re-feeling them and re-hearing the things that happen. So just run through the process of reliving it as if you're there inside the memory. And just play it from beginning to end. And when you get to the end, go ahead and step out of it so that you can either see, feel, or hear yourself being outside of that memory, as if you're watching it happen. Like it's on a movie screen, for instance. And as you do that, go ahead and play it again and just watch what happens as it happens on the screen in front of you or in the distance away from you. Excellent. And then go ahead and imagine that you're stepping behind yourself again so that you can either see, feel, or hear yourself watching, seeing, or hearing yourself. So just imagine that now you've stepped behind so that you can experience yourself experiencing the memory. And at that point, go ahead and just play it through one more time. Notice what it's like to just see and feel it, hear it happening again. And now this time, at the end, go ahead and pause it and think about something really, really silly, like maybe some circus music, like dun 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 kind of thing. And go ahead and jump back into the memory at the end, play the music, and run it backwards as fast as you possibly can. Alright, so go ahead and do that now. And then just do it again once more for good measure. And once more for good measure. And once more for good measure. And I don't know about you, but it's been about 17 minutes, 26 seconds, this thing says. And I feel significantly better. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling quite a lot better just from those couple processes. As I'm looking back on the thing that frustrated me earlier, it seems kind of silly, like I shouldn't have let it limit me. And the things that I did earlier really kind of pushed the ick feeling out. So I feel pretty good. All things considered. I wouldn't say that I'm in the ideal place that I wanted to be this morning, and definitely I'm going to have to spend most of the rest of the day putting out stupid fires because of stupid things that have really nothing to do with me. But, that's life. So, all in all, I actually feel pretty good about it. So, I'm hoping that, if nothing else, this helped half the pain and frustration of having one of those days, or at least helped you kind of laugh about something that happened. Or, I don't know, whatever. I hope it was helpful. At the end of the day, I guess that's all I can hope for. Putting too many expectations on these things, limits them really. So, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you didn't enjoy the video, please leave some comments below and let me know what you would have liked to have seen or whatever. Anyway, thanks for checking in, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.